this is our tutorial on how to make a personalised Christmas sack. So to start off, you are going to need 1 metre of fabric for your sack. Then you'll need 1/2 metre of fabric for the pocket on the front, 25 centimetres of a chosen fabric to make your letter, and also 25 centimetres of bonder web. You'll also need 3 metres of ribbon, some scissors, and then we've decided to add some bells for decoration, but this is entirely optional. We'll start off by making the pocket. So we've cut our piece down to 50 centimetres by 40 centimetres. Just be aware, if it's a pattern fabric, you're going to want 50 centimetres as the height. We've then turned down the top by 5 centimetres and turned it down again to create a neat hem. You can then press this down if you'd like, or just give it a finger press if you prefer. Pin it in place and then sew that seam in place. This will create the top part of the pocket, which we thought would make a lovely addition to a Christmas sack. Maybe it could be used to pop a letter to Santa in, or a smaller gift on the outside, maybe some chocolate coins or a tangerine. So after we have hemmed the top part of the pocket, then we are going to start making our letter. So we are going for an H for this, so nice and easy to make that letter. But if you do need, I'm sure you can find a template for a letter online. We are going to check that it fits nicely onto our pocket and then mark our letter in place using some chalk and a nice straight edge so that we get a good, crisp, even letter. Now you're going to use bonder web on this. And we are going to pop that down, so glue side to the fabric and give that an iron so that it sticks down to the cloth. And bonder web is great because then you can peel the back off, flip it over, and then you've got glue on both sides. So you'll see Pavo here just ironing that in place. And then, as I say, once you've cut out your shape, you should get a nice neat edge with that. Then we can peel off the backing and place it down on the pocket of our sack. And then again, it will need ironing in place. While you've got the iron out, you can also turn over the edges to the other raw edges of your pocket. So we just turn those in by about 1 centimetre. But if you need a little bit more room, that's okay. A couple of centimetres, an inch, it won't matter too much. Just ironing over the edges means that you get a nice crisp finish. And even though we've used bonder web to secure the letter, we've also used a zigzag stitch. So that just ensures that it's going to stay stuck for forever and also is a nice decorative detail. Now that's the pocket pretty much done. So we're going to make a start on our sack. So we're taking our 1 metre of fabric and we are going to sew on the pocket to the fabric. So first of all, we're going to pin it in place, and that is going to be 20 centimetres up from the bottom of the sack. That's allowing plenty of space for your hems and also for the top where there's going to be a drawstring and a bit of a frill even, not a thrill. So as you can see, we're sewing around just the 3 edges to make sure that you've still got use of the pocket and the top half, and it's coming together quite nicely. So that pocket is placed nicely in the centre of our sack. The next thing we're going to do is make a buttonhole, which is where our drawstring or our cord or ribbon is going to come out. So you're going to need to mark that 27 centimetres down from the very top of the sack and make sure it's in the centre. Now we've used the machine to do our buttonhole, but you can of course also sew these by hand or cut a little hole and then use a zigzag stitch. So that's it, we'll just cut our buttonhole open now. And just make sure it's wide enough that you're going to be able to fit your chosen ribbon or cord through that hole. Next, we are going to fold our sack fabric in half, and you're going to sew down that long edge just using a standard running stitch. And that seam eventually will go to the back of your sack, so you're going to get a nice clean finish at the front and on the sides. So here's Pavo just sewing that together now. And once you've finished sewing, you can take that off the machine and open up the sack so that the seam is at the back and your pocket is at the front. Once you've done that, then we can start off by sewing up the bottom seam of your sack. So you can see Pav is just opening out that side seam so that you get a nice flat crisp finish, and he's just sewing up along the bottom seam. So this is really coming together nicely now. We're not far off having a finished sack. The next job is to make the drawstring top. So listen carefully to these measurements. We're going to start off by turning the top edge down by 1 centimetre. Then you are going to fold it over again by 14 centimetres. So to get a nice crisp finish, we're going to iron in that 1 centimetre seam first. And you're going to carry on working all the way around until it's all ironed in place. And then you're going to fold it over again, measuring down to 14 centimetres. And you need to pay very careful attention to these measurements because it's going to end up with your buttonhole that we made earlier being in the perfect position for your drawstring bag. So once you're happy that you've measured 14 centimetres all the way around, you again can give that a little bit of a press. It just means that it's less likely to move when you're sewing, and it's all going to give a nice crisp and smart finish. You're going to start off by sewing around the bottom part of this fold, so that's the lowest point on the fold, and then measure up from the bottom by 4 centimetres and stitch another row. Be careful, make sure that you're sewing with a 4 centimetre gap between the two rows all the way around, and this is going to end up being the channel for your drawstring or the ribbon. Now is the exciting part. You can turn your sack the right way around. Then you'll need a little safety pin or something similar to attach to your cord to pull that. This bit is completely optional, but we've decided to add a decorative bow and also some bells to our Christmas sack to give it an extra festive feel. So we've just tied those on and we're just going to quickly stitch those in place. Like I say, completely optional, you don't have to do it. But you will need the drawstring. So we've attached a safety pin onto the end of the ribbon, and now you're just going to thread that through the buttonhole and then all the way through the channel that you've created. You shouldn't have a problem with it because it's a nice long piece, but just be careful that you don't pull your other edge all the way through. You want both edges pointing out and pulled through until the tails are even. Now, if the tails on the ribbons or your drawstring are a little bit too long, then you can snip those down. And now's the fun bit. You can pull those tight and your sack is complete, ready to be filled with presents on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everyone!